Hey, deserving listeners, I want to tell you something. I get many, many emails from listeners who want advice about how to choose the right graduate school. They want to enter into psychology or psychotherapy or counseling or social work or something, and they email me and they want advice about how to choose the right school to go to. And rightfully so, because it's a huge decision. A typical master's degree in one of the psychotherapy fields will take at least 2 years, if not 6 years, depending on the subject and how much time you have to do the work. And a typical doctorate will take you at least 6 years, if not much more than that. And graduate school not only takes a lot of time, but it takes a lot of money. A master's degree will run you around $50,000 at least, and that's just for tuition. And a typical doctorate will be, north of 100,000, probably more like 130, 150,000. Also, while you're in school, it's hard to work at a job. So for many students, like myself during my master's, students don't work or they work very little. So they need loans to pay for rent and food and stuff. And also, graduate school is super stressful. My master's was super stressful, and my doctorate was perhaps more stressful because I was working full-time during my doctorate. So for these reasons, it's really important that people choose the right degree. And in my experience, there is really bad information out there. Most of the information is either way too simplistic or it's biased because it's presented by the programs themselves, or it's just plain wrong. For example, I just Googled psychotherapist education, and I clicked on the very first site that pops up on Google, and I read the very first sentence, and it reads, quote, "A psychotherapist needs a doctorate degree in order to practice professionally," unquote. This is patently wrong. This is bad information. I can't imagine who wrote this stupid article, and it's the first thing that comes up on Google. There's a lot of bad information like this on the internet, and I'm guessing that's why so many people email me asking me for advice about which program to choose. So that's what I'm going to talk about today. I've talked about this before in other podcast episodes, but never to the extent I'm going to talk about today. This is going to be a deep dive. I have a long script here. It's 35 pages long. So I don't know. I'm guessing this is going to be hours of me talking. I'm going to talk about what you should consider, how to get information, what information you need to gather, what degree you should pursue, what sort of jobs there are out there, how much you're going to get paid, how you're going to pay off your student loans, how to avoid wasting tens of thousands of dollars and years of your life. So those are all the things I'm going to talk about today. Welcome to the Psychology in Seattle podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Kirk Honda. I am chair of the Couple and Family Therapy Program at Antioch University, Seattle, and I'm also a licensed therapist. This episode is just for patrons of the podcast. So if you're listening to this and you're not a patron of the podcast yet, this episode will end before the content begins. If you want to hear the full episode, you have to become a patron of the podcast by going to patreon.com. That's patreon.com. Patrons get access to all premium episodes on their phones or on the Patreon page. And you should also know that a portion of your monthly pledge goes towards various charities that we support.